The next item of business is a statement by Alex Salmond on the referendum consultation. The First Minister will take questions at the end of his statement, and there should therefore be no interruptions or interventions. I call on Alex Salmond.
Presiding Officer, the people who live in Scotland are the best people to make decisions about their own future. Of that there can be no doubt. In May of last year, those people, the people of Scotland, gave this Scottish Government an overwhelming mandate because of a record of good government, a clear vision of the future and the promise of a referendum on independence. Today, the Scottish Government has published a consultation paper, Your Scotland, Your Referendum, which sets out how we intend to fulfil that commitment. This document gives the people of Scotland the opportunity to offer their views on how the referendum in our country's future should be carried out. It sets out some key principles on which the referendum will be based, most importantly that the referendum should meet the highest standards of fairness, transparency and propriety. The most important decision by the people of Scotland in 300 years must be beyond reproach. Presiding Officer, let me begin with the referendum question. The question we intend to put to the Scottish people in the referendum is set out on page 11 of the consultation paper. It is short, straightforward and clear, so let me read it to this chamber. The question is, do you agree that Scotland should be an independent country?
We have a great deal of questions to get through today. I would appreciate if you would save any applause till the end of the statement and not interrupt during it.
Presiding Officer, we have set out in the consultation paper this in order that those who wish to do so can provide their views on that question and other aspects of the referendum through the consultation process. The question is designed to comply with the Electoral Commission's guidelines, which are that referendum questions should present the options clearly, simply and with neutrality. The question we have published today aims to be all free and will be subject, of course, to testing using a sample of voters. Presiding Officer, the regulation of the referendum will be an essential element in ensuring its fairness. The regulator must be a body which has the professionalism to ensure that the vote is above reproach. It is no less important that the regulator be accountable to this Parliament for its work. As members know, we have, as a government, previously had concerns about the best way to ensure that accountability. Last year, however, the Scottish Parliament, this Parliament, passed legislation to give the Electoral Commission a role in regulating local elections in Scotland. That is a role which the Commission will report to this Parliament on to how it carries this out. We therefore have the opportunity to build on that and on the Commission's experience of supervising 2 referendums in 2011 by appointing the Electoral Commission to regulate the referendum. The consultation document we have published this afternoon seeks views on the roles we propose both for the Electoral Commission and for the Electoral Management Board. The Electoral Management Board, developed by the Scottish Government with electoral professionals, was established in response to the recommendations of the Gould Report into the conduct of the 2007 parliamentary elections. Our proposal today is that board should be responsible for the management of the referendum. One area where we do agree with the UK Government is on the geographical basis of the franchise. The people who live and work in Scotland are best placed to decide its future. Our proposal is therefore that eligibility to vote in the referendum should reflect the internationally accepted principle that franchise for constitutional referendum can be determined by residency. That is the approach for the Scottish parliamentary elections, and of course it was the approach for the 1997 referendum on devolution. The one area where we propose to extend the franchise relates to young people. This Government, and I should say leading figures in the opposition too, have been consistent in commitments to extending the franchise in all elections to 16 and 17-year-olds. It is the right our young people should have the chance to play their part in decisions about their community and their country. Where we have been able to include 16 and 17-year-olds in election, which have been the responsibility of this Parliament, we have done so. If a 16-year-old in Scotland can register to join the army, get married and pay taxes, surely he or she should be able to have a say in this country's constitutional future. In our constitution today, we are therefore seeking views on our proposal to extend the right to vote in this referendum to 16 and 17-year-olds who are eligible to be included on the electoral register. Presiding Officer, just as we do not intend to artificially restrict the franchise, nor should we restrict the scope of options which might command wide support in Scotland. The United Kingdom Government argues that there should be no question in the referendum about full or further devolution within the United Kingdom, that the choice should be between full independence or the status quo. The Scottish Government's position is for independence. Therefore, that option will appear on any ballot paper in a straightforward manner. We set out our proposal for the question, as I've said, in the consultation document. However, this is a consultation with the community of the realm of Scotland, and it's imperative that the referendum is seen to be fair, democratic and inclusive. If there is an alternative on maximum devolution, which would command wide support in Scotland, then it's only fair and democratic that option should be among the choices open to the people of Scotland. We will not, as the UK Government seems to want, eliminate that choice simply because it might be popular. We will hold the referendum in the autumn of 2014. The United Kingdom Government argues that because the referendum is so important, therefore we should rush ahead with it. We are taking a rather more rational and sensible approach. This document, this consultation document, sets out in the clearest form the steps that will need to be taken to prepare for that referendum. It shows that the autumn of 2014 is the soonest that a referendum could be held in a way that meets the high standard which the people of this country have the right to expect. We share with the United Kingdom Government a wish this referendum should be decided by the views of the electorate on the future of their country, not on the basis of technical disputes about parliamentary competence. We have set out in the past how the Scottish Parliament could hold a referendum, which we are satisfied would be within its present competence. In order to ensure that the referendum is effectively beyond legal challenge, we are willing to work with the UK Government, and I look forward to my discussions with the Secretary of State and the Prime Minister over the coming days and weeks. Let me be quite clear, however. The terms of the referendum are for the Scottish Parliament and the people of Scotland to decide. This is the mandate given to the Scottish Parliament by the people, and the responsibility of carrying through the will of the electorate now rests with this chamber. Presiding Officer, I'm sure it's not lost in the chamber today, and certainly couldn't be after time for reflection, that today is the birthday of Robert Burns, our national poet. It is a remarkable testimony to the power of Robert Burns that in the 253rd anniversary year of his birth, we will toast the poet and the man in many different guises. We will continue to explore his work and find inspiration in his words. However, for the purposes of today, I want to invoke Burns the Democrat, because the choices Scotland faces now are fundamentally matters of democracy. Our country is facing a new constitutional future, and we must take the best path for our people. I'm told that there are members of the House of Lords who believe it's in their province to set boundaries on what Scotland can and cannot do. Perhaps they should be reminded that Burns' great hymn to equality has been heard in this Parliament before, when Sheila Wellington sang "A Man's a Man for All That" at our first opening in 1999. You see, on Burkie caught a lord who struts and stares and all that, though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coof for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that, the man of independent mind looks and laughs at all that. From ploughman poet to literary legend, Burns' journey was a remarkable one. 3 centuries on from the 1707 Union, the people of Scotland elected a majority pro-independence government. The government I'm proud to lead to revisit that decision. And this time, the decision will be made democratically by the people of Scotland. Presiding Officer, during the 2011 election campaign, I said Scotland was on a journey. There is a continuity, a sense of purpose. As one of my best friends in life and this Parliament's much-missed colleague Bashir Ahmed once said, "It is not where you come from that matters, but where we are going together." It is my belief, it's this Government's belief, that Scotland is going forward, together towards a more prosperous and fairer society, and that today is the latest significant step along that path. To quote the words of James Robertson, a contemporary poet of whom Burns would undoubtedly have approved, "The road that was blocked has no end. The unknown journey is known. The heart that is hurt will mend. The bird that was trapped has flown." The bird has flown and cannot be returned to its cage. I believe this journey represents the aspirations and ambitions of the people of Scotland. And today, as we pass another milestone, we reach out to the other parties across this Parliament in a spirit of consensus, urging them to contribute to this consultation on the referendum the people voted for in such huge numbers. In expressing their views, however, I would urge them to listen not to voices from elsewhere. Why not instead take the lead from the people of Scotland? In the election, we set out that our immediate focus is in addressing the pressing economic challenges and strengthening Scotland's recovery. Today's decline in the United Kingdom GDP underlines the urgency of that objective. Therefore, our immediate constitutional priority was improving the Scotland Bill to give it job-creating powers that this country desperately needs. These vital tasks underpin the timescale for the referendum, and we will continue to use all the powers currently within the control of this Parliament to boost jobs, growth and recovery. But there can be no doubt that this Parliament needs full economic powers so that we can do more for Scotland. Presiding Officer, the next 2.5 years promise to be among the most exciting in Scotland's modern history. At the end of that period, in the autumn of 2014, the people of the length and breadth of our country will have their say in Scotland's independence referendum. Independence, in essence, is based on a simple idea. The people who care most about Scotland, that is, the people who live, work and bring up their families in Scotland, should be the ones taking the decisions about our nation's future. No one else is going to do a better job of making Scotland a success. No one else has the same stake in our future. The people of Scotland should be in charge. Independence will give us the opportunity to make different decisions, to implement policies designed for Scotland's needs. And that means we'll be able to make Scotland the country we all know it can be, a wealthier and fairer nation. A country that speaks with its own voice, stands taller in the world, takes responsibility for its own future. Independence is about Scotland rejoining the family of nations in our own right. We can be both independent and interdependent. We can stand on our own 2 feet while working closely with other nations, our friends and our neighbours. When the United Nations was formed, there were just over 50 independent countries in the world. Today, that figure has risen to almost 200. Of the 10 countries that have joined the European Union in 2004, a majority have become independent since 1990, and Scotland is bigger than 6 of them. All of these nations now have a seat at Europe's top table, a right Scotland should enjoy too. Scotland's journey, our home rule journey, is clearly part of a bigger international picture. After all, independence is what we seek as individuals, whether it's buying our first car or our first home. It's a natural state for people and nations around the world. Not being independent is the exception. This Parliament in Edinburgh already takes a range of key decisions when it comes to running our schools, our hospitals, our police, and much else besides. Independence will mean we're also responsible for raising our own money. Scotland is a land of unlimited potential. Its culture, history and reputation for innovation are renowned throughout the world. Our universities are world-class. Our energy resources are unrivalled in Europe. Indeed, on current figures, we would have the 6th highest gross domestic product per capita in the OECD. With independence, we can have a new social union with the other nations of these islands. We'll continue to share Her Majesty the Queen as head of state, but we won't have our young servicemen and women dragged into illegal wars like Iraq, and we won't have nuclear weapons based on Scottish soil.
Order.
Independence will create a new, more modern relationship between the nations of these islands, a partnership of equals. I want Scotland to be independent, not because I think we are better than any other country, but because I know we are just as good as any other country. Like these other nations, our future, our resources and our success should be in our own hands.